มาเนี่ยนะครับ
ไม่ขึ้น
เลย
ไปกินเรื่องกินลงกินข้างล่าง ให้เป็นส่วนตัวซีเขาจะได้กิน
ไม่เขา
กิน
กิน
แล้ว
เนี่ยเขาอยากจะคุย
ไม่
ก็คุย
ซีเขาจะไม่กินเข้าใจไหม
ไม่ เขาอยาก
ป้า
ให้
เข้า
กิน
ใจไหมเชื่อไหมงั้นไม่ไล่ออกไปนะไม่พูดนะกินก่อนจะขึ้นมาคุยก็ให้มาคุยใหม่
มันไม่หิวไง
You don't want to like
แล้วเขายังไม่กิน
ไป
what's it called?
เมื่
Like
อ
you
กี้
don't
แม่
want to
ถาม
make
แล้วก็
him
บอก
stick,
เขาหิว
like you want to give him an
เขาเข้าใจไหม
stick man.
ทางนู้นด้วยเขาไม่
Fish
ได้กินเร
Fish
ท
Why is it popular?
whenever you're ready to eat we can just go down like and then come back yeah
go
whenever
to
you're
eat
ready
first and when after you
No,
want
you-
to talk
whenever
come
if he ready when he ready
Oh yeah.
sit to ไป because sick gonna run
Yeah.
to
I'm not fussed about lunch.
Is this what you usually? Is this like a Thai sort of?
oh yeah
lunch
yeah
that
I'm
you
just
have?
a noodle I'm easy but you
Yeah.
have special you have
Yeah. He showed me actually that you made like
Oh,
a
chicken, lot
yeah,
of
It looks
you and
professional. It's got like
Can
a
you use
stick on
chopsticks
it.
like her?
no I can't no I don't know how to use it I never tried
Really?
yeah
I can even use
because I never
chopsticks
tried
pretty easy.
oh can you
When I was
do
in South, when I was in
What,
Thailand,
you
I
call
was
yourself a
you
Thai
just
no just
Yeah.
fork and spoon Thai most Thai fork
yeah.
and spoon
Dude, you only
Japanese
be there for a week
Japanese
or two,
mainly
and you get
chopstick
very used to it. Yeah. Apparently, in Asia, like even like we think, for example, like when they're eating like rice and things, like they're not using chopsticks, man. They're just using a spoon. Like, yeah, they're still used like when it comes to the things where we're like no, they just use it for the things that make sense.
Yeah, Siri, why do you use chopsticks? Why don't you use a fork or something?
no convenient I don't know if it's
She
her
likes it.
it's her the way she is yeah
why you not chopstick why you fork we ask
the way she
back
is just the way she is
Yeah, it's interesting how like the world
She does use forks.
we've only
yeah
we've only
because
for a little
noodle
while.
it too long
And then what happened with all the liquid at the bottom? You can't eat that with chopsticks.
yeah you need a spoon yeah or you just
we
have to
have
bowl
this spoon we have
Like
this
that,
spoon
Have the spoon for it.
Yeah, well, that's not a Thai invention.
ไปเดลิงพีท go to eat first
Mark,
มัม
you
โน
still a fan of
อยู่
the
ฮังกี
States?
ปะ go to
I just
go
need
to eat
Yeah.
down
I just
ไป
listen to the motivation like get up go to work
and you
whatever
gonna
That's what Tate's popular for. And he's taught men, be a man. Stop
Yeah.
listening to this crap about how you've got to please a woman. That's why he's popular.
Yeah.
And the same with Jordan, what's Peterson?
Jordan Peterson, yeah.
And he gets a lot of flack.
But Jordan Peterson's a much more respectable version of Tay is like saying no, screw these guys. He's like he's just being really like brass and like like
He's
being
smart, he speaks well.
and he's intentional.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. So that's why I don't want to say he's stupid because he's smart and what he's doing is he's still being so wrong about what he's doing. He's being intentionally provocative.
Okay.
He's speaking to these kids like they'll love me saying fuck this and fuck that and
Because-
they're bitches and like that's how he
Whereas
speaks.
Jordan comes across
But
as a little
with just
bit too
enough,
aloof, you know?
yeah. And Peterson, on the other hand, is trying to come as genuinely as possible. He's trying to push the agenda of like, well, Peterson's actually like I think his biggest takeaway that he's like saying is take on as much burden, as much responsibility as possible. He's like, young men, it's not that you have it so hard, it's that you haven't made it hard enough. Take on more responsibility. You can. He's saying you can and do it until you think that you're going to be squashed by your responsibility. Just keep on. If there's a little, like you.
You don't
We
need
know-
that, do you, Mark? Nobody wants to be squashed.
Do you
with
remember
the
being young?
responsibility.
Do you remember being younger? Like when you probably were like trying to invest into buying this sort of land or this house, and you were thinking to yourself like, if I were to just do a little
Yeah.
bit here,
No.
a
yeah
little
yeah
bit
No,
more.
when I was
I'll
young,
do-
it was like, where's the next party?
Really?
Yeah, stop. I didn't care about money
Yeah.
at all. I just thought surfing was the best thing.
No.
I thought chasing girls was the best thing. No, it was a
Yeah.
very simple life.
Okay.
Yeah, never valued money at all. That came later.
Yeah, but then once you did,
Then I'm fucking.
how old were you when you started to buy like when you wanted to like buy the land and buy the house? And...
Before 2000, because I could see we were going to get the Olympics, and I realised, hey, this is going to be killing. And
Yeah.
that's what I started.
Yeah, okay,
เอานมลง
so
ไปด้วย
maybe
Again.
25 years ago sort of thing.
I'm 67, so
Before you were 40?
it was 26 years. Now it's 20 years, right? 26 years.
Yeah. Far out, man. Well, he does speak to, like, he's not just speaking to kids.
speaking to destiny right now
Look, it's
Yeah.
It depends on your upbringing. You see, if I had parents that were investors and stuff, I would have probably got into it. But I didn't. My father worked in a factory. My mother was housewife, and they came from Germany, tough life.
Yeah.
There was no talk about investment. There was no spare money for that. You know, my dad was a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
I just tried to avoid him because he'd get a slap if he did the wrong thing. So your mates would ring and it was an escape.
That's the other thing that's the other thing that Peterson and Tate, it's because we're living in like kind of a, maybe we always have, it's only like some people have really good fathers who pass on like good knowledge, but Peterson is like the father that no one has. He's like the guy who's saying be responsible.
He's good, I like him.
You know Destiny? His name is Destiny, the opposite side.
Yeah, and Tate is I think he's a bit of a douchebag, the guy on the opposite side.
His wife cheated on him and everything.
Yeah. I saw that. He
The
asked Peterson about the polygamy thing, and he's like, "Well, I think that will end quite badly for you."
The opposite side of Peterson.
Oh yeah, the guy talking. What's his name?
Destiny.
You wanna turn it up a bit?
Yeah.
มาร์คก็ซิ่งแฮปนิว
What new?
แม่จะได้ดูบ้านนะลูกดูสิเขา
The other thing people don't.
คือมันจะมีมาใหม่เลย
don't like about Peterson
ลูก
is
ดู
that,
สิ
like,
มี
he
เทอ
uses
ร์เลส
like
อะไร
quite
อะไรแต่อันนี้อยู่กิฟฟอร์ด
expensive vocabulary or like words that people think like, okay, people can understand what he's saying, but they're big words. So they're like, oh, he's so smart. Everything he's saying is true.
He wants to be the smartest man in the room.
เอาเสียงลงหน่อยมาร์คแม่
But I think he just also really appreciates.
Oh, he's a thinker.
I think he really appreciates language.
Oh, I just think something about
แต่นี่มันไม่ใช่ถนนยุ่งไง
He
จับ
equips
ถนน
himself
ได้อีก
with
แค่
cool
ยุ่ง
awesome
ไม่ยุ่ง
words
ก็
that he
ก็มี
can.
อ๋อแบงโก
The more you understand language,
อะไรนะ
the more you can defend yourself against guys like this trying to break
ใช่
down.
กิลฟอร์ดลูก
Yeah.
เมลแลน
It's
ด์
just like, alright.
ติดเมลแลนด์พาราเมตตาแหละพาราเมต
รู้
ตา
ก็มีที่อยู่บนกระจก
he's going to be like he goes and pushes the idea through and he's not
แม่พยายามหาแบบนี้ไงให้มีที่ใช่ไหมเพราะว่ายังมี
The number one image is that time, and I'll give him credit for this. Even Zuckerberg gave him credit, said that takes balls. He's just been shot at. He sticks his head up again. And that does take a certain amount of courage because you don't know if that shit has been taken out. But he's going to take another bullet just to make a statement.
Quite an
Even
interesting.
Zuckerberg's changed his view.
แล้ว
That took balls. It did.
It's
Quite, I think that won in the election too. If he hadn't already won it at that stage, that was like.
He'd already won by that point.
But then like there was no way they were able to rig it anymore because he couldn't have been more. Yeah, he just,
He's speaking. Look at him. Like it's not. Just speak normal, please.
which one, Peterson or this guy?
Destiny.
Yeah.
Just speak calmly, slowly. You don't need to speed. What's the point? Like
Isn't that a lot of
he's trying to get his word out. Like I wanna.
I find
I
this
just want.
to be the most common thing of like the young intellectual today is like speaking the fastest, improving so quickly.
What's the rush? What's the rush? What's the rush?
I know, and if you really want to get to knowledge,
He just want to hear himself. I know.
Yeah, if you really want to get to a piece of knowledge, if what your goal of the conversation is to end in like learning,
แล้วสเต
then
ชัน
you'll just try and adapt to what the person in front of
นี่
you
ก็จะ
can
บิ๊ก
keep up with. But he
สกอตแลนด์
seems to
ติด
try
กับ
and-
สเตชัน
ครับ
สกอตแลนด์
You ever come across a guy called Norman Finkelstein?
No, has he?
ยาวตั้งเดียว
He's
อ๋อไม่ใช่
against.
สต็อกแล
He's
น
a
ด์
Jewish.
กิฟฟอร์ด
His parents
งั้น
were
ต้อง
Jewish
ไปพารา
Holocaust
เมตตา
survivors,
ทาง
but
ส
he's
ต็อกแลน
speaking
ด์
out
ไปอีก
against
2 กิโล
Jews.
Okay. What's his
Oh,
name?
yeah,
Norman.
yeah.
Norman
พารา
Finkelstein.
How is it? How do I spell it?
F-I-N-K
เมอริแลนด์ไป
L-E-S-T.
ไปพาราเมตตา2ประมาณเกือบ 2 กิโล
ครับ
Complete opposite.
แต่กิฟฟอร์ด
Ask him
แม่
a
พูด
question,
เดียว
Professor.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
just
most
simplify.
measured
Yeah.
but deep
Yeah.
knowledge, unbelievable. Right? He'll quote you what happened from a finding in 1945. You know the article number, and he speaks with so much wisdom it
ก็
almost
ถึง
brings
บ
it
อก
to
ว่า
you.
แม่ยุ่งมากเลยมา
That
คืนนี้
that
เราสน
resonates
ใจ
with me.
Yeah.
And you listen to him. They hate him because he speaks the
เข้าใจ
truth.
ไหม
Who? Peterson.
Norman
วันนี้
Yeah.
เช็คเขาช่วยไงแล้วก็แบบคุยอะไรนี้ พูดถึงนะ
George
เดี๋ยว
Peterson
ไป
or
ส
the
นุก
other?
กัน
Jewish
ก็มา
sympathizer.
ช่วยแม่ตรงนี้ดังนั้นทั้งวันเขาก็อยู่กัน
Finkelstein's actually a survivor. His
It's
parents were
crazy. Even
survivors.
today, people.
No, he says the brutality of it.
Yeah.
You know what he said? He got in trouble because what he said was, they asked him about, do you condone the October 7th thing? And he said, yes, some terrible things happened. He said, but I've been advocating for Gaza for years because he feels sympathy for those poor people. He said, I nearly gave up on them. He said, but what has happened on October 7th is 1,000 men breached the walls
คุย
and
กันถูก
actually
คอ
have
เลย
stirred
เนาะ
up something that was almost
แล้วมาคุย
And then he goes on, and he's 100% right. You wouldn't be talking about Gaza. No one gives a shit about those poor people.
คน
Sorry,
ที่
they're
รู้
brutalized.
เรื่อง
They're brutalized.
บ้าน
And what's
เนี่ย
happened
รู้
there? Have you seen
คุ
the
ยกับ
pictures?
ใครก็ได้
I started
รู้เข้าใจ
You're not
มัน
feeling
เป็นเสน่
sympathy
ห์
for those poor people. They're living people
I
too.
do, but I'm more angry at their fathers and their fathers who decided that they would sacrifice
Forget
their
all that.
children.
Look at the little
and
kids
come back
there.
and
Look
say,
at the little kids
Yeah, I
there. Look
know.
at the mums.
But that's what I mean because they've sacrificed. Essentially, this is how I see
But
it.
you can't blame them.
Yeah, I started off when I was younger. I was like, screw Israel. Of course, Palestine deserves that land. That's so wrong that they've come in
What's
from
wrong with-
thousands of years. They
What's wrong
haven't
with the
lived there.
bipartisan? Look, Netanyahu doesn't want a bipartisan. What is wrong with
Well,
the state for both?
Would you remember when
Hang on,
Israel?
answer the question. What is wrong with the state for both?
Well, they do technically have a two-party
No,
state,
they don't.
but
No, they don't.
but Israel governs
But you-
it.
With force.
Well, how can you give away when they're still like every single day they're throwing rocks at the police cars? It's like it's kind of
No.
it's trying to imagine.
Why wouldn't you?
like-
They come in your home. They
Yeah.
come in your home. They randomly come in your home, right? They'll beat it. They'll bat you up. They take delight in it. They put it on the internet. There. No. They've been ruling with brutality, and it's not just me saying it. I've seen.
No,
the footage.
I've seen some
I
stuff.
no
too.
longer believe what I see on the media. It's been brutal, and it's been brutal since 1949. And here's the other thing: do you respect international law?
The Zionists
Do you
especially.
respect international law?
What is international law?
International,
UN
when the
law?
governments don't agree, you have all the countries' main solicitors coming up and you have to have a consensus. International law.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, since 1949, how many times has
Yeah, they
Israel,
never do it. They never respect international.
how many times have they taken the task on it? None. Why? Because Bully Boy America has the right to veto. How many times have they breached rules? It's been hundreds of times.
Yeah,
with
probably
no
thousands.
repercussions, right? So they're in the wrong. Netanyahu,
Ooh,
hang on, it's
they
been to
wouldn't
the international
exist.
court. Netanyahu is
Yeah.
a war criminal.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to go with somebody.
The Palestinians are war criminals too, but like it's like I agree that they have a right to. They do need to have the right to fight for what they believe in. I just wish they hadn't. I wish they had have existed and said we are Palestinians. That was our land. I wish they had have done a similar thing to what the Jews did and like build up their instead of letting
How can
blood so much
How
bloodshed.
come they're oppressed?
No, but yeah, but like you know the full history of
Yeah.
like it goes back 3,000 years to where
Yeah, but none of us.
when
We're not,
the Israelites
Yeah, but hey,
were
when
claiming
we all
that
see
that
it.
was the
it's like anything. You only get snippets of what historians want you to know, right?
yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Well,
Two people have different religions and their
Yeah.
religions don't agree. There's wrong on both sides. Do you agree?
yeah.
Yeah, that's all we need to know. We are not in a position to sort out their troubles. But what I
No.
see, and I'm not saying the other side is correct, but what I'm saying is, when you lose 1,000 people and you make up stories about babies burning and that's true, you've lost 800. By the way, Netanyahu, you haven't heard of Hannibal policy.
Animal policy.
Netanyahu created a Hannibal policy. If I take a hostage and I'm a Jew and I take if I'm a Palestinian and I take a Jew as a hostage, I take
you
you
can
as
be
a hostage.
killed.
He enforced the Hannibal policy that day. You shoot them both.
Yeah.
You take no prisoners.
Oh, you shoot the Jew and the.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the Hannibal principle.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Well,
hang on.
that-
That's
I-
madness in itself. Now, if you didn't know
Yeah.
about it, look at that and ask yourself. Now, even the Jews that have come out and said we got
Yeah, they would hate that. Rule.
no, the people that have come out and said my friend got shot by the IDF because the Hannibal policy was enacted. In other words, we're going to get you, bang bang. Okay, we killed a few of the Jewish bad luck. At least we got the one guy we're after, right? They have said it themselves. So You never hear that in Western media. In fact, nobody here's heard about it because you've got to go to trouble. Look at Scott Ritter. He was the negotiator for this. He says exactly what I do. This is wrong at every single level, right? But they keep getting away with it. They keep getting away with it. It's been a police state. And this is what Finkelstein says. He said, I've even given up on him. He said, but the truth of the matter is, he's not another one. There's another guy called Nathan, who's a Holocaust survivor. And he said, I used to be like the Jewish believing in all of this. He said, but I've seen it. I've been there. My heart bleeds every time I see it. He said, it is a prison. They have nowhere to go. They're allowed in and out. Everything's controlled. Yeah. How many times the United Nations say we want to let stuff in? What happened? You're not allowed to get. We decide. They basically want to exterminate them, right? And Netanyahu said it. Basically, he has said it. So he doesn't believe in a two-state solution. And these people that go around in Sydney, they want a two-state solution. What's wrong with that? Maybe they shouldn't be protesting here. But do Jews and Arabs have a right to the same place if their ancestors were born there? The answer is yes. And anybody who says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. It's like, here in Sydney, you go to Hurstville, what do you got? You got Aussies, you got Chinese, you got Thai, you got everybody living together. What's wrong with that?
Well, I think it's like, what you said about that animal policy, it kind of explains how extreme the situation is there to why they need to govern over, like why they can't just go, okay, alright, let's give you your 2 states now, let's go. Because anytime they've tried to enact it, there's been too much, there's never not been conflict, they've never not been like trying to kill the other. Not to say the Palestinians shouldn't feel defensive, it's just that they actually can say like, yeah, they are always attacking us. And think about when Israel first was created as a state, no one liked it, but it was an area of land, it was British land because they
Do you know what the Bible says about the Jews?
What is it?
You will never find a place. God told them that. You will not find peace.
He gave the Israelites Israel.
And then they stuffed it up, and after that he basically got the shits with them, and he said, you will never find peace.
Oh, okay.
That's coming from God himself, right? So when the Americans and that got together after the whole, okay, here's another thing for you. What did Adolf Hitler wasn't happy with it. So who did he go to? He went to the Brits. You want to take him? No. He went to the Americans. You want to take him? He went to every country. You want to take him? So all these people, but the Americans were quite happy to say, get together with the British and say, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a place and smack that in the middle of all your Muslim enemies.
Well, it's where they
so
were originally.
Why didn't America take it? Why they stick him there? Why didn't America take it?
Because it's useful to have a space where they can defend.
No, they didn't want to be bothered. It's like everybody else. They couldn't be bothered, right?
I thought it's like it protects their.
No, they didn't want it.
Their values in a part of the world where otherwise.
Why didn't America take it? Again, ask that question. Why didn't America take it? They didn't want it.
They have so many of them. They have most of them.
The rich ones with money, they will take it.
The Jews are people too. It's like hard to say that
what
they're not
percentage
just.
of American senators are Jewish?
I think it's a big percentage.
Yeah, it's over 60%.
Yeah.
What percentage does Israel make up of the world?
About 6%. Something like that.
No, it's less than 1%, right? So you find that odd. Wall Street, we know, is run by. Let's take the Federal Reserve governors. Janet Yellen a while ago. What's her nationality?
Probably Jewish.
Greenspan.
Israel Jewish. Yeah.
Glenn Bernanke.
Probably Jewish. Yeah.
Did you find that odd? This is America. The only one that's not is Jerome Powell.
Well, it's not odd to me because I know that that's what like.
What I'm suggesting is there's a control here.
Yeah.
Go back to Hollywood. You see all those actors that were playing cowboys? How many were Jewish?
But these are people who are practicing.
Most of them.
A lot of them, yeah.
Most of them.
But
so they control Hollywood.
Yeah, so essentially they are the controllers of the current empire that we have.
And I have a problem with that because.
But there's always going to be someone in control. And we're actually benefiting from the fact that they look like that they have chosen that people who look like us, white-skinned Europeans, are that like back then at least when they were making those movies, let's say, that was the image that was it's favoured. You especially maybe.
Goldstein, look all the MGM, all those movie producers were Jewish, so they can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the person that they want to see is the person that's going to like their son's going to look at and go, oh, like I could be that. That's what that's what my dad looks like. That's what my
That's
uncles
America.
look like.
It's American cowboy film.
Yeah. So is it? But they're picking people who don't. They're Europeans. They're not like
No, they're picking their mates.
Arab. Yeah. They're picking their mates, and they're picking an image that they're used to. It's a familiar. It's like a their people thing. And now the film industry's gone a weird
You can
direction.
justify as much as you like. It's a form
where
of control.
they finally gone like, wait, for so long it's clearly been favouring one group of people, so now we need to make sure there's a quota. But this quota thing is even worse because you can't pick who gets a part based on a quota. It's like, it makes for such uninteresting movies where it has to be this much girl, this much boy, this much girl in masculine role, this much boy in feminine role, black, white,
Yeah, agree.
Hispanic, Asian,
But again, I say to you,
mixed. It has to be all the spectrum, and it has
It's
to
not
be
all
girl, boy.
spectrum.
It's totally
everyone
weird,
admits-
and they all have to be beautiful still. So that whole part is just making for the most. I don't know. I used to love film, and it's just boring the hell out of me what they're doing lately.
oh yeah, that's a different story. But
I just
what I'm
watch
saying
it,
is,
like-
Hollywood
Oh.
in the early days, and still is,
No.
it's very much controlled
Yeah,
by
they're
Jewish money.
Jewish, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah, the money crowd is Jewish.
Yeah. But I don't know. I
I just bring it up because
I don't
it's
think
interesting.
it's all like we can't. I don't know that we can say who deserves what either. But like the history of that region of the world, Israel is the Jewish people who have been kicked out of the Middle East and dispersed everywhere and still survived. Who came back and said we want land. It's kind of hard to
Hang on,
not
who
say
kicked them out
like
of the Middle East?
the Muslims.
Yeah, but that's war, and you're fighting. But they've done their
left.
dirty work too.
Many of them slaughtered, but many of them left and went as far as they needed to go to.
So what America do in Vietnam?
เกิดอยู่นี่เหรอลูก
Just, you get concrete everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Midnight.
So currently, like that's why I think about the Palestinians. Like they were there for the least amount of time of the people who have been there. The Palestinians was only about like 300 years old. So they try and claim like 600, but Ottomans had already kicked the people out who were there about 300 years ago. And before that, it was a different empire. It's always been a region where the people who are there, because it's so contested, it's like really old religious sites, they always get murdered, kicked out. They have their homes. It's just a contested region. It's like if the Palestinians hadn't have like held their ground, no, this is ours. We want to like sink out. No, we have to stay. Their children wouldn't be dying. They could have gone elsewhere. Like anyone else who's fleeing the
Don't
war,
agree
they
with
go
that. Their
elsewhere.
land got taken, sorry.
And they got taken by such a powerful country, like such a power. Maybe they couldn't have seen how powerful America and Israel and the Jews were. But I wish that I would just rather no bloodshed. But I also understand why they need to create the bloodshed, because if they really want to be established as a country, they're at quite a loss in where they are now. They're just at a loss. It's just
Who's a loss?
the Palestinians. They're just at a loss. Like it's just a battle. Like I don't see how they ever win. How do they ever get their land?
Well, they won't as long as
They'll just
as long as
continue.
America keeps vetoing any rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which they will, because they see that as
Yeah, well, I said it's wrong. I'll take a stand on that. It's wrong. You breach rules, there's going to be consequences for it. And no, I
But
don't.
who else
agree.
is standing in to make
Hang
sure
on,
that
I get the feeling you're happy that people in 1949 were told that they now have to go away because America and England decided that the
definitely not happy, but I also think
No, no,
that
you
that
agree
is
with
what
that.
happened. No, that is what like you were saying before.
But hang on, are you happy with that? Are you happy with the
Not happy, but like it's the same thing that
Well, then
happened to
we
the
agree.
Jews when
Well,
they
then
were
we agree.
ousted many
But
times over.
Then we agree, but say it's wrong. Is it wrong?
Yeah, it's very wrong, but
That's all I'm saying.
I also think that it was wrong that those men who decided to stay with their families in Palestine, I think they set their whole families up for just death. I just think they just
Hang on.
children, their
Hang on.
children.
Hang on. What
I guess they couldn't have known.
Hang on, where did you get this feeling that there was conflict? There's people who are living, both Jews and Arabs, in 1949 in an area
Yeah.
called Palestine, in harmony.
It
And then
In
the
some-
American, hang on, they were living in harmony. There's no dispute about that, right?
No.
Right? That's the first fact you've got to get in your head. Then along comes America. Then there's World War II happening in Europe largely, and then the Americans and Britons get together. They're the power mites, and they decide we have a problem with the Jews. So they come along and they go, right, we're going to put you here. That's like somebody coming on your property and saying, you piss off because we decided Mark's got to stay here.
They've done quite a bad
Hang
job
on.
because they didn't fully understand.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it. It's friggin' wrong. You can't just displace people. And this is where the seeds of hatred come from. And listen to Scott Ritter. He was the American negotiator. He'll tell you the same thing. Many people will say exactly the same thing. The only one that's not saying it is Fox News.
Oh, well, I don't listen to any of those.
Yeah, don't listen to them.
I listen to YouTube. I listen to like discussions usually.
Yeah.
So what you were saying before about that, there's a woman that I listened to. I think she was the first Prime Minister of Israel, or the first. What was she? Do you know what I'm speaking of now? There's a long discussion where she talks about it. She's like, back when I was young, it was only peace. Like we didn't like the Jews and the Palestinians and the Christians and the Catholics. Everyone would live on the same street, and there was no trouble.
They had one guy that was happy to negotiate, but he got killed.
Yeah.
He got
By the
killed.
Zionists.
Yes, of course.
It wasn't the Palestinians who killed him. It was But you also remember when Israel was granted that land, it had previously been basically nobody's. Like the Palestinians weren't given it; it was just designated as a region by the Ottomans. So that's why Britain and USA thought that, and the UN thought that they had the right to say, okay, we can give this back to these people. When that first happened, it was just all out war on Israel, like on the Israel. Like it was now time to get them again, and that's why they were
The
immediately fighting.
The Americans are very much influenced by the money crowd. So the Jewish money masters come along,
There's lots of
and
war.
they basically sort of make the shots. That you're the expert, you're the thing, you're the guy with the money. Where do we put it? What do you think? What advice do you think they're going to give the American hierarchy, and that they follow? Right. But I come back to the salient point. Is it right that you basically say the people living there have to piss off because we're making room for new aliens? The answer to that is no.
No.
And I can hear some of these commentators debating it, and they'll bring all these red herrings in. The point is this: is it wrong or is it right? I do believe in absolutes. It is wrong, and that's where the discontent started. And now this has been going on since 1949. I come back to the next point. How many times have been issues over the years? It's gone to an international court. Israel, should you be doing that? Goes to court. No, you should. Everyone agrees. America says, let it go. Hundreds of times. Ask Cope Pollard, how many times has
It's
Israel
kind of like a
preached?
default that they do
So
now, isn't it?
Israel's
It's
a
like-
criminal.
But and so
Say, hang
Palestinians
on,
and so
Israel is a criminal. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ukraine's criminal right now though.
Yes,
Anytime
they are.
you're in war, you're criminal.
Yes, they are.
And Israel has been at war since, that's what I was saying, they've been in war since the day dot because Syria wanted more land from them, Egypt wanted more land from them, who else was on their border? Anyone who was on their border,
Huh?
You can jump in on this debate.
anyone who was on the border with
My
Israel,
brain's so slow
they all
for this. Like,
decided, Jordan wanted more land, they all decided they wanted to claim more of Israel. They really did, it wasn't actually Israel, it was just the fact that they wanted more land for themselves. Egypt was smart, they realised how powerful they were quickly and signed some accords and had peace and got South Sinai back. And
all-
then
I'm all
eventually
about
they
Golda
held.
Meir is the bloody thinking of.
Yes, Golda Meir. And there's a lot of
69 to
discussions with her.
74, she's the first and only female head of the government of Israel in the Middle East. Quite a trailblazer. Right, what did she do?
She's just a real common sense woman as well. She was just, people used to just say it how it is. They want to, now everyone has to say what you always say on the media. You can't say too much left or right of what people are used to saying, what people are used to hearing of you.
I sort of haven't followed the politics.
That sound of the clock for $2, it's quite a real
Oh, hang on. She's one of the founding signatories of the Israel Declaration of Independence in 1949. So she's been one of the ones they designated as head of state.
Yeah, okay. Which she's partly responsible then for
Now, if I ask Kate Pollitt the other question, what is she contentious about? I'll get a different answer because not everybody will be happy with whatever she did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's like if I ask Kate Pollitt, the Federal Reserve, what
Well,
does it do? And I'll say it creates thingy to sort of lubricate the money system, and then I'll sort of say something like, does the Federal Reserve counterfeit? Oh no, it sort of hedges, and then you say, is it a money trick like money from thin air? Then you say, yes, you're right. It's the question you ask that determines the answer you'll get out of it. So,
yeah. Well, I know
this,
I can tell you for her.
she's a founding member. She's the Prime Minister of Israel. She served from 69 to 74, so she's in there for 5 years.
She didn't like the ousting of the Jews from the area. That's like
Good,
her
that's a
main,
good thing.
Yeah. So her main thing, I think, was probably like that's why she believed in Israel.
Right.
Was
Let's get more about that. Was she?
was that she didn't want, like she wanted the Jews to have a space. Like she was ousted, her family was ousted from one of the regions, I'm not sure which, but like many in her family and many Jews, like they were all around that region because that's where they came from. They are Middle Eastern.
So you've done your research on that.
Yeah, and they all got ousted many times.